Before you watch this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Social Media Jaman TV, and do not forget to press the notification button and to get more information. Good day, fellas. This is Azenis for today. Indonesian court sentences a school teacher to life imprisonment for cases of sexual violence against students.
An Indonesian court sentences an Islamic school teacher to life in prison for raping 13 students in a case that had spotlighted the need to protect children from sexual violence in the country's religious boarding schools. Judge Yohanes Purnomo Suryo Adi says that teacher Heri Wirawan had sexually groomed the 13 girls who were between 12 and 16 years old and impregnated 8 of his victims, some of whom suffered injuries from the rapes. Heri's lawyer says he had until February 22 to appeal the verdict. Dede Merlina, a 42-year-old housewife living near the school, says she was relieved the perpetrator had been stopped, but that the damage had been done.
Boeing sees recovery in Asian commercial market doesn't care about titanium supply.
A senior executive at the United States manufacturer says Boeing expects to see recovery in Asia-Pacific for the commercial market and is confident of working through any potential disruption in titanium supplies due to its very diverse supply base. Boeing last month launched a freighter version of its 777X widebody that will compete against the Airbus A350 freighter. Analysts at Sobia Aviation Brendan Sobia agree that the outlook is looking brighter across Asia as some countries announced easing pandemic measures. Boeing still says they were not concerned about any
Singapore a show takes off with limited attendance as the Ukraine crisis casts a pall.
A Singapore air show opened to a limited crowd of trade visitors, with some participants voicing concern over the Ukraine crisis. Organizers expect the biennial event to attract more than 13,000 trade attendees, less than half of the 30,000 who attended in 2020. Visitors got the chance to witness a number of flyby aerial displays, including from the Indonesian Air Force's Jupiter team. It performed cascade stunt, and another involving an upside-down jet mirroring another jet's flight path. Meanwhile, the head of the world's second-largest aircraft leasing company says it is preparing to tackle possible disruption to business with Russia. Chief Executive Domhnall Slattery told Reuters on the sidelines of the air show, avowing its concerns about whether sanctions against Russia will affect international payment transfers. He says Avolon is focused on ensuring that airlines flying over the region are fully insured from a risk management perspective. United States officials have warned that Moscow could launch an attack on Ukraine after massing more than 100,000 troops close to its neighbor's border, with the West preparing heavy sanctions.
Singapore resumes border reopening after pause due to Omicron outbreak.
Press conference.
As we learn to live with COVID-19 and Omicron,
the health ministry says Singapore expands quarantine-free travel to Hong Kong, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates this month after a pause due to an outbreak of the coronavirus. The city-state will also restore and increase quotas under its vaccinated travel program, which had been reduced in December to deal with the Omicron variant. The ministry says Singapore will streamline border measures for all travelers and remove an entry approval requirement for eligible residents who are long-term pass holders. Meanwhile, authorities says the country intends to eventually scrap vaccinated travel lanes for visitors from designated countries to allow entry to all vaccinated visitors without quarantine. About 24 countries are in the vaccinated travel lane program, including Australia, India, Malaysia, Britain, and the United States. The new lane with Hong Kong is unilateral.
Presidential candidate Manny Pacquiao welcomes international investigation and vows to fight narcotics the right way if elected in election.
Kay Jennifer Laude, pabor po ba kayo sa pardon?
Ang bawat isa ay may karapatan para idipinsa ang sarili sa
In an interview recorded, Philippines boxing icon and presidential candidate Manny Pacquiao says he would welcome an international probe into President Rodrigo Duterte's bloody war on drugs if elected, and promised to fight narcotics the right way, with suspects given a free trial and rehabilitated.
Huwag muna tayo magbigay ng conclusion na ma-EJK na kaagad pag mga ganon kasi makakasama din sa ating bansa.
Duterte's presidency has been defined by his war on drugs, during which thousands of alleged dealers have been killed. Right groups and critics says law enforcers have summarily executed drug suspects, but police say those killed were armed and had violently resisted arrest. Pacman, as he is known in the Philippines, is however trailing in opinion polls ahead of the May election, more than 50 points adrift of frontrunner Ferdinand Marcos Jr., a former ship stowaway who learned to box in Manila slum. He has said he is certain lower-income voters will turn out into force to elect him.
Thailand recycle plastic waste into religious items.
According to a report by the United States-based group Ocean Conservancy Thailand, recycle plastic waste to make Buddhist amulets by using 9 types of recyclable materials ranging from plastic bottles to nylon fishing nets. Thai amulets with Buddhist imagery are extremely popular in the Southeast Asian country, and many hope that wearing them will enhance their spirituality and bring them good fortune. Terachai Sapamete Kulwat, the founder of the other company behind the project, Quali Design, says the Buddha amulet launches for awareness on the back to remind people to be conscious that their daily consumption should not harm the environment, said Terachai. The project has generated some controversy on social media, with some questioning whether an amulet should be made from recycled materials. Typically, amulets are made from materials such as bone, wood or metal, and many contain, for example, the ash from incense burnt at a temple or hair from a monk that are thought to further increase their powers.
South Korean candidate starts campaign dominated by scandal, allowing third-party challenge.
South Korea's presidential candidate formally began campaigning in what is said to be the tightest race in 20 years between its 2 main parties, dominated by scandals that have allowed a third challenger to potentially play the role of kingmaker. 14 candidates have signed up since official registration, with Lee Jae-myung, the flag bearer of the ruling Democratic Party, facing off against Yoon Suk-yeol from the conservative main opposition People Power Party. A survey released by Real Matter showed 41.6% of the respondents favored Yoon and 39.1% picked Lee, while Southern Post put Yoon just 0.5% ahead with 35.5%. His latest ratings hovered between 78% after peaking at 15%. Polls indicated a convincing victory if Yoon and An united, although it was not clear if all An's supporters would automatically follow him on a combined ticket.
Prisoners released in Yangon on Myanmar's Union Day.
multiple busloads of apparent prisoners are released from Yangon's insane prison the same day the government announced a pardon of 814 prisoners. The announcement came on Myanmar's Union Day, which marks independence from British colonial rule in 1947. Pardons are often granted on major holidays. The video obtained by Reuters showed dozens of people crowding outside the prison and banging the sides of the vehicles as they left the compound. A decade of democratic reforms and economic progress in Myanmar came to an end with the February 1, 2021 coup. The junta has arrested thousands, including Aung San Suu Kyi, who remains in detention in an undisclosed location, facing legal charges that could lead to sentences adding up to 150 or more years in prison. In the capital Naypyidaw, Myanmar's junta shows off its military strength with a parade on the holiday, with leader Min Aung Hlaing defending last year's coup as necessary to protect the country from enemies, both domestic and foreign.
Hong Kong opens 7 dedicated clinics to treat COVID-19 patients with mild symptoms.
Local health authority says 7 designated clinics are open in Hong Kong Special Administrative Region to treat patients with mild symptoms, as the region has seen increase in infection recently. According to data from the Center for Health Protection, about 1,619 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 are reported in Hong Kong as of midnight on the day, all of which were locally transmitted cases. Local authorities have announced more effective measures to tide over the COVID-19 resurgence. The Hong Kong Hospital Authority says it will open 7 designated clinics to treat patients with mild symptoms. In addition, local government will also transform some existing public housing units into quarantine areas to contain the outbreak. China's central authorities recently have agreed to support the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government in taking all measures needed to contain the 5th wave of COVID-19.
China calls on related parties to approach its Ukraine crisis through dialogue.
Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin at a press briefing in Beijing says China calls on all relevant parties to settle the Ukraine crisis and related issues through dialogue and negotiation. Wang makes the remarks after a group of 7 G7 finance ministers released a joint statement that saying they are ready to impose economic and financial sanctions against Russia over the Ukraine issue. He then reiterated China's position and commented on the latest situation in Ukraine during the press briefing. The new Minsk agreement, signed by Germany, France, Ukraine and Russia in Minsk, capital of Belarus in 2015, aims to reach military ceasefire, political reform and a national reconciliation in eastern Ukraine.
Well, thank you everyone. Thank you as well, Julius Sports Wardrobe Collection. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you all.